You're listening to Dane and Jeff's Media Dump. Normally I'd say these assholes are the perfect excuse for birth control, but some jackass paid me a lot of cash, so hail to the kings, baby.
Dog's a dick.
Oh, I know. You've been telling me these things. You know, that's why I've been telling you, man. Electric color.
But, so, a couple weeks ago, it was on a Saturday, he went out with my daughter, and they were playing around in the yard, and I'm probably in the kitchen, like, moving dishes to the dishwasher or some shit, and I hear my daughter yelling, "Rocky, no! Leave it, Rocky!" I'm like, shit, what the fuck's he doing? So I poke my head out the door, and I see him running out to the end of our yard, chasing something. I yell at him, he ignores me. I go, shit. Now, I'm home all day, I'm still in my fucking pajamas at, noon, because I'm living my best life. So I throw my shoes on, I look at my wife, and I tell her, I'll be back, keep the girl here. And I go after him. Whole time I'm yelling. I hear barking. So I get down in the holler. And for those of you who don't know, I've got like 40 acres grand total in mine and my brother's name. So a lot of ground potentially to cover hunting his ass. But I saw which way he ran. He ran down into the holler. So I go down after him. And when I catch up with him, I can see him through the brush. He's running in circles, yapping. And there's another dog barking. And that's when I get my first look at the source of all this chaos. One of my neighbors apparently has a little Dachshund.
Okay.
And Rocky went after it because he wanted to play. This Dachshund, which is, mind you, like a tenth of the size of Rocky, is scared for its life. So it's huddled up against a tree, just trying its best to act ferocious, and Rocky thinks they're playing. Well, when the hurricane came through, it put a bunch of damn trees down on the property that I haven't got cleaned up yet because they're like out in the middle of the woods and shit. So there are 2 big-ass fallen trees between me and these dogs. So I'm trying to get up the hill and around it because there's no going through it. It's too jagged and brushy to go over top of or try and crawl underneath, but I can see through it. And I yell at Rocky, and he starts to come to me. And this little bastard wiener dog decides it's time to make a break for it. So now Rocky ignores everything that I'm saying and goes chasing after the damn dog again. We go through a cycle of this over and over. Every time I get a little bit closer, but right before I'm able to get a hold of him, Dachshund runs off, he chases off after it. Probably a mile through brush, briars, bramble, across a creek. So now my feet are wet. I'm bleeding from several places, and I'm pissed. And they're going, once they get across the creek, they're heading up towards a neighbor's property that I know for a fact shoots any dog that comes on his property if he sees them.
Oh, no.
So, like, the closer we got to the creek, the more I'm like, I gotta get these motherfuckers. And we've hit the point where we're getting close to the point of no return. There's like a house and a property line between them and this dude's property. And I know he'll fucking shoot them in a heartbeat if he sees them. And they're fucking loud. But I finally get Rocky to stop moving. And I'm like, if I can get to that little dog, I know I've got his bait. So I get over there and I, make nice with this neighbor dog. I don't know the dog's name. I'm not even sure who he belongs to. Or she, rather. It was a girl. But she lets me pet her. And I'm like, look, Rocky, come on. And I pick her up, and we're good for 30 seconds.
Oh, no.
And then Rocky comes tearing through, scares this little dog who bites the shit out of my hand twice. Number 2, it's hard enough. I drop her. I can't help it. She takes off, and as Rocky goes to take off after her, I snag his collar. So now I've got hands on my dog, and I am so damn exhausted and winded. I had to make a call, and I'm like, that dog can follow its trail back. It's going to have to fend for itself. I can't get both of them back. My intention was carry that little dog back with me, back to my house, to Rocky in my house, and let it go back to wherever it came from.
Yeah.
But yeah, at that point, I had to let it go because I only had the energy to drag Rocky's big ass across the creek and a mile back up to home. I wanted to beat his ass. I'm not even going to. I didn't, for the record. I didn't abuse my dog. I really wanted to. But we got home. He goes to timeout, which is the little kennel that we've got.
Yeah.
And it took me probably 2 hours to fully catch my breath back. I felt like I was dying, man. And then damn if the sumbitch didn't turn around and run off on us again 2 days later.
How many times is this now? How many times do I have to tell you? Electric collar?
Yeah, well, I'm short on cash right now because I was out of work for 2 weeks, which I will go ahead and actually just go ahead and address that up since it's all over. So this is not news for Jeff. He knows what's been going on. For anyone who's been wondering what's been going on and why we didn't release the episode last week and everything, my mother did have to have surgery a couple weeks ago. She was diagnosed with cancer. They got it all. I didn't want to say anything until we knew for sure, but she's going to be fine. She's recovered well enough that, she's getting around. Hasn't been cleared to drive yet, but I think the only reason they said that was like the painkillers that they had give her and the blood thinners.
Yeah.
For post-op. But my mom's good. But just everything got really hectic for me on my side. And then the plumbing gods decided to piss on Jeff's parade. So I just said, hey, I got a lot of stuff going on. You got a lot of stuff going on. You want to just skip an episode and come back refreshed?
Yeah, and that's plumbing issue is still not fixed yet. Because here's what it is. My wife discovered early in the morning, this would have been 2 weeks ago at this point, water coming from our exhaust fan. Now, it's like, what? What the hell? So I took off the exhaust fan. I see that it's full of water. Like the shroud, or not the shroud, like the fixture. Like you got the exhaust fan, but then it goes into a light fixture you get what I'm saying.
So the bathroom exhaust fan?
Bathroom exhaust fan, okay. Correct. That was full of water. And so I started, I dried out all the water and tried to determine where it was coming from. So this was Thursday morning. I finally discovered it like Friday afternoon or Saturday morning, what was actually happening. Water wasn't coming through the fan itself. It was coming underneath through the ceiling. And it just happened to be leaking into the fan fixture. And it's like, okay, maybe it was just a condensation, or, of course, I'm trying to think optimistically, but in my head I knew there's something wrong with the plumbing. I just knew it was. So we've been putting paper towels up where I discovered where the water was coming from, and I got in touch with our association. And I got in touch with them on, hold on. I called Monday morning, and that day I was homesick just because the night before I went to had drinks with my brothers, and let's just say I woke up the next morning with a hungover stomach. So I stayed home from work and I called my association, and I was shocked to see that they made an appointment to come by the next morning. I was like, wow, this association is usually terrible. This is a big issue.
So when did the other shoe drop?
Yeah. Well, the shoe dropping was, I was correct. What it was is that he cut open the ceiling, and there's a crack in the pipes. Now, this is, I don't recall what he called it, but this was PVC plumbing before PVC became a thing. It was like it's 1980s plumbing. I'm not sure what the material is called, but the point is that is 45-year-old plumbing. And there's a crack in one of the pipes. So I was like, okay. They call the plumber. The guy looks at it for 3 seconds. Oh, I can't touch this. And the reason, his words, and I quote, was, "This is illegal." And what was illegal about it was, where the water is coming from a 6-pipe joint. You know how you have the traditional 2 or 4, maybe 3? This is 6. So you have the normal 4 that goes along, top, bottom, left, and right. Or top, bottom, left, and right. But then think of it in three dimensions. You got X and Y. That's the 4 pipe. That's 4-inch openings. But then on the Z axis, you have 2-inch openings. So there's 6. This is a 6 connection fixture.
Never even seen a 6-hole fitting.
Well, that's why they don't make it anymore. So right now, they got in touch with this plumbing company. They're going to have to special order this fixture. Now the thing is, I don't know if they're going to be able to do it, and they're going to have to redesign the plumbing. But as of right now, the plumbing is stopped by this industrial grade, like JB Weld.
Flex
and it's
tape,
holding.
man.
Well, they used industrial rubber tape, so that's what's keeping the water at bay right now, and we're waiting for the permanent fix. But even then, this is a 3-appointment process, because they have to. The first appointment is going to be cutting open the walls, and then fixing the plumbing itself. Then they need to come back to do the drywall, and then put on the primer, and that get that ready. Then the third visit is sanding the primer, then painting.
Fucking plumbing, dude.
Well, yeah. And like I said, it's already been 2 weeks.
We just got a thing in the mail a couple weeks ago about how our pressure reduction valve on our water in was under recall, where we got this new place put down here. And it's like, this is under recall, you can get a free replacement, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, that's nice, because that thing failed 2 months after we moved in. And I had to already replace that sumbitch, so fuck y'all.
If there's one good thing to come out of all this, I don't have to pay a dime, because this is happening between units. So this is a building issue, meaning this has to be solved by the HOA.
Oh, thank God for small favors on that one.
Yeah. Apart from that was the big thing for me, and why we couldn't record 1 week, just because you had stuff going on with your mom, and I'm just like, dude, my plumbing's fucked.
Yeah, but for anyone who was super excited for the best video game movie double feature, we are still doing that episode, but it's been moved to the end of April. We've got a special guest appearance planned for early April, but we're going to be diving into Wrestle Month.
Yes. So. For a second there, I thought you said wrestle, like wrestling. I'm like, dude, what the fuck are you doing to me? This is the wrong show.
John Cena turned heel.
No. But yeah, that was going on with me. Apart from that, got my taxes done. This was the first time I had to file taxes as a married man. There was a little bit of confusion, but I got it done. And I also just like, you know what? I don't feel like printing any paper and all that crap. I'm just going to send it electronically. That was accepted in a matter of hours. So I was just like, wow, technology rules when it works.
Oh yeah, I've been doing my taxes electronic as long as I've been working. I've actually got to fill mine out tomorrow.
What else? Had to take my cats this past weekend to the vets. 15-year-old, she is starting to fall apart and makes me sad because she's my little daddy's girl. You can't see her, but she's currently not where I left her. She vanished.
She's lurking somewhere.
She is. She's probably looking for food, but that's another thing. Our 1-year-old cat, Tom, you know, the white puffball that you see on occasion, he is 14 pounds. And the doctor is just like, he needs to start losing weight because this is getting unhealthy for him. So it's like, okay. So what we need to do is he needs to start being fed like more protein enriched food. And another thing we're doing is we're hiding their food at night.
We used to feed ours. It was a grain-free thing that Purina did.
Yeah.
And it was the most healthy that I'd seen my cats or my mom's cats, because we were both feeding them the same thing. Can't get it no more. They just released bags that look exactly like the old grain-free bags recently. But now it's protein heavy, so it's not even grain-free anymore.
Well, the stuff we bought is IAMS. I think it's a healthy weight, or like it's like a Weight Watchers sort of food. And the reason is just like we got to find the right one, because the last time I bought, like Weight Watchers cat food, Tom couldn't eat it because I guess his stomach was too weak. And he would throw it up. So it's like, okay, this food we're buying, it's heavy in protein, and it's good for cats 1 year and older. So it's like, okay, and you're going to have to start eating until you start losing some weight, bud.
Now, we had a cat back when I still lived with my mom, before me and my wife got together. Cat's name was Roger. Big fucking cat.
Oh, yeah.
28 pounds.
My God, man.
He had the diabetes.
Well, yes, that's one reason why we diabetes. That's the one reason why we're putting Tom on a diet now, just because I don't want to start giving him insulin shots because he has diabetes. And I know I would have to do it because my wife is afraid of needles, and there's no way in hell she would be able to stick her baby with a needle.
Well, it costs a little more, but they make like a diabetic trait gun.
Same thing, she won't be able to do it. I would have to do it.
You just pop them from across the room.
It's like the tranquilizer from Perfect Dark. It shoots the syringe from like 50 feet away.
Well, they're only accurate up to 15, but
close enough.
I imagine there's somebody listening to this who's like, is this a real thing? And starts looking this shit up.
Well, while you were talking about earlier with your dog and whatnot, I started looking up prices for dog collars, and I'm seeing, just like $40, $25, $60. If you want really top of the line, I guess it comes with 2 collars, $160.
All right, as big as this sumbitch is, I'm gonna have to get a car battery too, and he's just gonna have to saddle that shit for him to feel it.
Yeah, really make sure the diodes are touching skin.
Just
Have you ever
duct tape and a car battery? That's what I want to do.
There you go. Have you ever actually shocked yourself with a dog collar?
No, but I have touched both sides of a car battery before. It don't do nothing.
Well, I've never done that, but I have done the dog collar. It's not a pleasant feeling. How about a electric fly swatter?
Oh yeah. We had, when I worked at Walmart, we had one of those in the back room in produce, and one of our favorite pastimes was sneaking up and just slapping people with it.
Of course, my brothers and I, we would, we would obviously take it. It's just like, all right, let's see how long we can last. It hurts so much. Last time I did it, it burned skin. It left like a black mark on my finger. I'm just like, okay, no more of that. However, you, Mr. Wasp, fuck you. And I'm going to hold that button down until you explode.
Do you remember
the Muffin Man? Yes, I do remember the Muffin Man.
Close. When Shatner was doing the Priceline commercials?
I think so, yes.
When me and Big Dick Brandon saw the one where, like, he just rings the doorbell, the dude answers the door, and Shatner tases him and says, "You'll thank me for this later," and then goes and books the shit on Priceline. You talking about the bug zapper made me think of this. That was the beginning of our Cold War. Because me and him started talking mad shit and threatening that he was going to do that to me. Like, he was going to come over to my house one day without warning and tase me, and while he tased me, he was going to say, "You're going to thank me for this later." I said, "Not if I get you first, motherfucker." So both of us are, like, just constantly threatening every time, anytime one of us went to the other's house. It's like, thump, thump, thump. Door's unlocked. Would not answer the door to one another. Because we both knew the other one's got a fucking taser. And this went on for like 6 months straight. And finally, my mom got so tired of our bullshit, she sat us down and she said, "This ends today. Brandon, give me your taser." I don't have a taser. It's like, "You don't even have one?" "No." "Are you fucking lying to me?" "No, I never got it. I was bluffing. I was bluffing." It's like, "Dane, hand it the fuck over." I never actually bought one either, Mama. You two dumb asses. So, a 6-month-long Cold War threatening to tase one another, and neither one of us had actually bothered to get one. We were just both so afraid of mutually assured destruction.
Beautiful. You lazy bastards.
Well, to make peace, that same day after we got our asses chewed out by my mom, we made a stink capsule, which is like a time capsule, but you're burying it to ruin someone's day in the future. So we made a pimento cheese triple mayonnaise sandwich, and we put it in a coffee can, and we buried it across the road somewhere. I tried to find it a few years ago, because I'm like, this is going to ruin my day when I'm like in my 50s, and I don't want to like find this. I tried to find this thing a couple years ago. I don't remember where we buried it. So that stink capsule is going to ruin someone's day some point in the future. And no one's probably going to notice it until they start hearing it like reach sentience and start growling. Because what would you think if you were like, digging somewhere in a yard on property that you'd bought, and you find a coffee can buried in a yard? What are you going to think?
Well, first I would pick it up and I would start shaking it.
Yeah, but what's your assumption? You're going to think about the dumbasses that bury money in their yard, right?
Well, yes. I'm thinking of the scene from Vegas Vacation. It's just like, I forgot where I buried it. I got coffee cans full of money all over this land.
Or how Ron Swanson has gold buried in his yard and shit on Parks and Rec.
Exactly.
Like, you're going to be thinking, hell yeah. So you're going to be super excited. And then you're going to open it up, and it's this just putrid pile of what used to be bread.
I can't even imagine what it would look like. It's just be probably the ugliest looking thing ever.
But yeah,
it's just like you want a horror movie? You want cringe gore horror? Here's my 30-year-old pimento mayonnaise sandwich.
And speaking of 30-year-old pimento mayonnaise, I fucked that up so hard. Oh, let's take that again. Like, I'm going to edit that out. Speaking of 30-year-old pimento cheese and mayonnaise sandwiches, welcome to Dane and Jeff's Media Dump. I'm your host, Mr. L. Dane Puzzles Esquire, Mr. Puzzles for short, Dane for shorter. And with me, the man with the plan. He's your Huckleberry.
I'm your Huckleberry.
Mr. Grumpy Jeff. Jeff, how you doing, man?
I am doing good, buddy. How about you? Even though
I've not yet begun to defile myself.
I'm still getting horrible images of what this sandwich is looking like right now. Here, this is what you need to do in order to find it. One day, this sandwich is going to eat through the can, and then it's going to start changing the land like it does in Pacific Drive.
I figure it's going to be like the smell is going to eventually start seeping out of it and through the ground.
Just look for all the dead creatures.
Because it was just, back when coffee cans were still metal.
Yeah.
So it's just a shitty metal coffee can with this little slap-on plastic lid.
Well, let's put it in perspective because, some coffee cans are made of aluminum. I'm sure this was made out of, cast iron or something.
Probably aluminum, to be honest.
Oh, dear. That can doesn't stand a chance.
But, yeah, eventually, it's going to be a case of why does it always stink in this corner of the yard? And now that we've got Rocky, the discovery is probably imminent. Because that dumb bastard's probably going to dig the sumbitch up. And he's going to, come home. His face is going to be green. And he's going to just start projectile vomiting like the fucking Exorcist. And I'll be like, what the fuck did you get into? And I'm going to be walking around expecting to, find a dead deer that somebody had shot and then, get away. And I'm just going to find a hole in the empty coffee can. And that's going to be how the zombie outbreak happens.
Zombieland. It all started with a contaminated burger. No, it all started with a contaminated mayonnaise sandwich.
Cheese. Oh,
what have you unleashed upon the world?
I've done a lot of dumb shit, dude.
That's the thing. You're talking about all this dumb shit that you've done, and I literally can't. There's not a lot that I've done. That's just wow, Jeff, you were an animal. I think the problem was because I had two older brothers to learn, okay, they're the idiots causing all the mayhem and trouble. I'm going to be a good boy and stay out of it.
See, you had life testers. So they got to do all the dumb shit. So you got the fun by proxy without the, lifelong consequences of this dumb shit. I now live on the property where for some reason I decided it was a good idea to bury a stink capsule.
Well, at the time, at first, I'm like, oh boy, it's fun to play football on Sundays with my brother and his friends. Now I have back issues.
I'll do it. Remind me, 1 week, we'll start laying the seeds down. I'll tell you about picking a fight with a Marine.
Oh dear.
Well, I hung out with a lot of Marines because Big Nick Brandon was in the Corps.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was the shit stirrer, and Brandon was just reckless enough that even though he knew I was stirring shit most of the time, he would go along with it. So I'd let him catch all the fallout from it, and I'd usually be able to just stand back and laugh as it all played out. Like, my mom always said that whenever she was in high school, she liked hanging out with the guys more than the girls, because the guys were more fun.
Well, sure.
Because she could get them to do the dumb shit, and then she could watch it play out and not have to get hurt herself. And I took that lesson to heart. I'm like, okay, don't be the dumbass that does the dumb shit. Be the dumbass that starts the dumb shit. It bit me in the ass sometimes, but...
That sounds like it's a pretty good method.
Well, the old adage, he who stirs the pot should have to lick the spoon.
Yes.
I've had to lick the spoon a couple times.
Just be thankful it wasn't the pimento cheese spoon.
Oh, fuck me. I'm not looking forward to that. And it's even worse because my daughter keeps trying to dig holes in the yard because she wants to find fossils.
Oh, no. Do you recall, is it in a clearing or was it more in a by trees and such?
All right, so I remember within probably a 15-foot radius of roughly where we buried it. So if I was dedicated enough, I could find it, but I would have, it's about a 15-foot radius that I would have to dig up. I don't know how deep we went anymore.
It's probably Did you ever see? I think the movie is called Life, the Ryan Reynolds space horror movie.
Oh, no, that's not that Life.
I think. Hold on. Go ahead and keep talking. I'm gonna look this up because
the one I'm thinking of was a Martin Lawrence, Eddie Murphy spot.
Oh yeah, it is called Life. It's a like this gelatin. It's kind of like the Blob. That's what it is. The Blob is currently living in that coffee can, just waiting to be free.
Ryan Reynolds, Jake Gyllenhaal,
Rebecca Ferguson.
Yeah, I don't recognize her.
I don't either. Or I do. Hold on. Oh, did I watch Rogue Nation?
Sallow, Mission Impossible, Dune, Doctor Sleep.
Which is the one that I watched? Oh, it was Ghost Protocol. Different one.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any movies that she's been in that I've seen. A couple of them that I know by reputation, like Snowman.
Well, The Greatest Showman, I've heard of that. Men in Black International, Dune. So yeah, I've heard of, Mission Impossible. I know all these movies. I just never seen her in any of them.
Like, Doctor Sleep is one that I've been wanting to watch, but I haven't got around to.
What is Doctor Sleep?
The sequel to The Shinnin.
Yeah. That's all you're going to get from me, just, Quiet, you want to be sued?
Thank you for catching the reference.
Hey,
now,
man,
if you figure out the reference for why I refer to them as bagels, as opposed to bagels, then you'll definitely have my appreciation. Because that one's a deep cut that I've been doing for a decade. And most people have no idea why I insist on calling them bagels.
Why do I have a feeling I know what you're talking about? Tell me.
Oh, where's the fun in that?
Okay, fine, I'll look it up.
If you look it up, then it ruins the fun. Community.
Oh, no, it's just telling me bagel places in my general area, so... And yes, I spelled it Baggels. Bagels!
On Community, they
I never watched Community.
They make fun of the way Britta says the word bagel.
I've never watched Community, so...
It's a wonderful show. We might have to do some mini-sodes on it.
I'm fine with that. I still need to finish Parks and Rec. I definitely would love to talk about that a little bit. Just, Ron Swanson is my spirit guardian. Hold on. I want to make sure you actually heard what I said. I don't want a lot of bacon and eggs. I want all the bacon and eggs.
I fucking love that character.
He's wonderful. I've never tried his scotch. Have you ever tried his scotch?
I didn't know he had a scotch.
Yeah, it's a... I'm not sure if they're still doing it, but it was a limited time offer with the...
like for the character or for the actor?
Or I think it's... I think the actor, Nick Offerman. Lagavulin, I think you pronounce it. Hold on. Yeah, Lagavulin, Offerman. Depends on where you can get it. It's usually, I guess, average around $70.
Save this website. Because I know that liquor can be shipped in North Carolina, so I might be reporting back on that.
Let me know. It's a 11-year-old single malt.
Oh, I loves me some single malt.
I'm not a Scotch guy. I mean, I used to be, and then I switched to vodka.
I was always a bourbon and Tennessee whiskey person, but Glen Rose was the first single malt that I ever tried, and I fell in love with it. Glenlivet's a good one, too.
I just realized my dad turned 75 this year, and for the past 12 years, I've always got him Scotch for his birthday. And these last couple years, I've kind of raised the bar a little, getting like a 18-year-old black labels, red labels. I fear I might actually have to go all the way and buy him the blue label.
I've never
And
got
yes,
to try Johnny Blue.
And yes, the grocery store I worked at does sell it. It is over $200. Well, also at the same time, it's like, do I want to buy something when I'm trying to save for a house?
I mean, look, I know some websites on the dark web that sell like credit card info.
Yeah.
We might be able to arrange it if you're feeling risky.
No.
Oh man. So you want to talk something about this movie we watched?
Yeah, there was a lot of bourbon drinking in that movie.
Now, hold on. Was there a haha Dalton found an error from the last episode? Do you remember?
Didn't he call himself out?
No,
I can't remember what for.
So,
Connor got it.
This week on haha Dalton found an error, courtesy of Kana. Dalton did the error this time. It wasn't us.
Yes, we did it.
So when talking about the Final Fantasy when we were doing the video game soundtracks, he said he called the character Captain Leo when it's General Leo. So
yeah, General Leo.
So there you go. Welcome to the club, Dalton. Does it sting?
Should I say the thing that pisses off a lot of people about Final Fantasy VI?
Probably. I don't know.
Not a good game.
Half of a good game.
Half good, half boring. And I bet you're asking, well, what's the good half?
The half we played.
Yeah, the half we played. The other half, I couldn't be bothered.
Yeah, the thing that it gets praised for is the thing that made me quit. As the reason I damn near beat 6. I made it to the World of Ruin, and when it's like, you know that giant party that you assembled? Go get them again. And also, none of the locations are the same anymore. Find your way around this new world. Nope.
Yeah,
I probably still have a memory card with my unfinished save file for the PlayStation.
Yeah, I don't have the anthology anymore, but obviously I have, like this SNES Mini, which does have it on there. But it's still just one of the things of like, why do I want to waste my time trying to get through that game when I don't care? That's what it all comes down to. It's the same with a Wind Waker. It's the same with, that's also the other reason why I'm never going to play Chrono Trigger. I just don't care.
Out of all the old RPGs that get overhyped that I have played, and one of my favorite RPGs is the original Final Fantasy VII, which gets hyped all to hell. The only one that has ever, in my opinion, lived up to the hype was Chrono Trigger. It genuinely is a good game. I can understand not wanting a disappointment, but it really is a good game.
That might be true, but it's just the fact that it's not going to live to my expectations. That was how it was with 6 and Wind Waker. It's like, these are critically praised. Obviously, Wind Waker was shat on at first, but then over the years, people are just like, oh, wow, this is a great game. Both games, I'm just like, I got to a point where I didn't care anymore.
And it's like, Chrono Trigger was so good, I got hyped for Chrono Cross. And Chrono Cross is okay.
I want to play Chrono Cross because people shit on that game. It's like, this isn't Chrono Trigger. It's like, it's not supposed to be. I guess that's what pisses everyone off.
The soundtrack is great.
So I've heard.
The way the magic system works is weird. Because it has this kind of like resonance effect as elements are used throughout a battle. It'll stack up and have different impacts on the element of magic that you're casting. I think the final boss has something where you have to have like a rainbow of the different magics in the stack. I could be remembering this wrong. It's been since a year after the game came out was the last time I played it.
I'm just waiting for the remaster to either be free on Steam or PlayStation Network, because obviously I'm not going to pay for something and reduce my score.
I just do what I did. Buy one of those retro handhelds. Holler at Mikolov. I'm sure he'll give you a great recommendation. And I'll hook you up with all of the ROMs. I've got a hard drive. It's 1 terabyte. I have every game from PlayStation 1 backwards on it.
I'll wait for the remaster. Because I've seen images of it. It's like, oh, that looks pretty. About the same vein as...
They did do a remaster of that, didn't they?
Yes, they did. And I wait for it to be free.
Oh. I think I've actually got that game. I think when our local video store went out of business and sold off all their old shit, I'm pretty sure that's one of the games we picked up dirt cheap.
Well, I know my brother did at one point, and I actually started playing it, but then I immediately stopped like 10 minutes later just because I was like, this isn't Final Fantasy IX. Okay.
Well, the thing that made Chrono Trigger so interesting is the number of different endings you could get. Because the game's really not that long. I think the last time I played it and I was taking my time, I still beat it in less than 20 hours. Yeah. And I was fucking around, exploring areas, and really moseying around. About every 3 or 4 years, I'll play through Chrono Trigger.
I'm good.
But Chrono Cross, the party that you have for the final fight, will change the ending dramatically that you get.
Mm-hmm.
And there are so many different permutations of characters that you can go into that final fight with. The number of endings for that game that is possible are ridiculous. And I'm still pissed because Square actually teased a third installment in the series. And a couple of years ago, they finally let the web domain lapse, which is kind of their way of saying we're never going to do anything with it. Chrono Break. So they were working on a third game, but no art ever got leaked, no details ever came out, nothing ever got said. And this was back, I think we were transitioning from PS1 to PS2.
Yeah, that's probably why, because the reception for Cross was so poor, because everyone was furious. It's like, this was supposed to be a sequel. So that's probably why it got canned. So, nice job, people. You got the third game canceled, because you're all too butthurt.
Chrono Trigger is built around traveling between different timelines.
Correct.
So, different eras within the same world. Chrono Cross is built around 2 parallel universes that exist as a result of the shit that you do in Chrono Trigger.
Yeah, it's the Trigger is time hopping, the Cross is dimension hopping.
Really cool idea.
I mean, it's a cool idea. I just don't. People are just too whiny. I'm just calling out our fans. I expect a lot of flack from Dalton, Nate, Willie, everyone. It's like, what are you talking about? Chrono Trigger's the best. I'm like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah, usually I'm the one trying to be the heel on shit, but yeah, you go for it. I do like Chrono Trigger. Chrono Cross was okay. Fuck Final Fantasy VI.
There's more, but I'll wait for the next episode before I start dissing some other beloved franchises. A certain Y sounding, or a certain franchise that begins with a Y. And of course,
start talking shit about Ys.
I don't know. Am I talking about Ys or am I talking about Yakuza?
Oh, be careful. You'll start some shit. I've played Yakuza 0. I do like that game.
I don't know. Well, tune in next time to find out what game I'm shitting on. Even though I have stated in the past, I probably would like Yakuza 0. I just don't want to play it because I know it pisses people off when I'm like, fuck Yakuza. I do it out of spite.
I can respect that. I really wasn't expecting to like it. I wound up with the games on a GOG sale.
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to play 0 last year for Backlog Golf and got sidetracked with something and never got around to finishing it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm probably going to start it over and actually play through it this year whenever I'm done with the current one I'm working on. Because I'm in the middle of Steins Gate, Final Fantasy 16. Still got to play through Red Dead 2.
You need to take your time with that one.
Which Red Dead 1, that is the... Guess what? It's your fault I played a Yakuza game. Did you know that?
I'm proud.
Because I always thought Elden Ring was my exception to the open world games suck rule.
Okay.
And it's because, I just love Dark Souls, so I thought that was the only reason I was having fun with Elden Ring. You got me to play Red Dead Redemption.
Yes.
Which is very much an open world game.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently I just needed an open world game that was cowboys. Because I fucking loved it.
Hey, man. Wait until you dabble into 2. And then your mind will be blown.
I've heard the entire map from 1 is available in 2.
To a point. You can't go into Mexico. And I do believe that was because of production.
Yeah, if I'd had to make a guess, I would have said it.
Even if Rockstar had 8 years to make the game, it's just like, oh yeah, you can go to the original map. You can't go to Mexico. But still, it's funny. So you got this giant new map, and you just thrown in the corner in the bottom left part of the corner, you just see the area from the first game.
So New Austin and
West Elizabeth.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that is nice.
You're gonna love it, my friend, because it's just like, oh man, John Marston, what a great character. Arthur Morgan. I'm not saying anything. I'm just doing the Arthur Morgan. I'm nodding, just like yeah, he's the man.
I'm interested to see how they work him into the backstory because of how well fleshed out and real it felt with John and Dutch and just all of the old gang guys, but Arthur never being mentioned. And I know that he plays into that same gang.
Well, that's the thing. John makes subtle hints, subtle references, like especially when he's talking to, like, say, what was it, the Stranger?
Mm-hmm.
And apparently, it's just like, yeah, these are references to Arthur, but it's left very vague. So if you've played the game, it's just like, I wonder who he's talking about. Play 2, and then you'll start getting a better understanding.
I really do hope they do a third one, since GTA 6 is getting ready to release.
I'm not looking forward to 6.
Well, I'm not looking forward to... I've never been a GTA guy. I never liked it.
Yeah.
But since GTA 6 is getting ready to release, I'm hoping they'll come back to Red Dead. Because those games were so damn good
I think
that
it's
they
been
killed
confirmed.
the market.
I think it's been confirmed. Or... Hold on.
I don't even want to look at... I've not looked into it myself because I don't want to be disappointed and find out that someone has said, "Nah, we're done with Red Dead." But those 2 games were so... Well, Red Dead Redemption is so good that I didn't think that they would be able to do one better. And from everything I've heard said about it, Red Dead Redemption 2 sounds to be an improvement upon everything the first one did.
From everything I'm seeing, obviously I'm just doing the normal Google search. It says has officially acknowledged the development of Red Dead 3.
Here's hoping it doesn't take as long as GTA 6.
Hey, man. If it takes them 10 years, let it take them 10 years. Because it took 8, and that game is a masterpiece.
Plus, and this is the thing that I respect most about Rockstar. They do their thing, and they keep their fucking mouths shut. And they're not breaking promises because they're not going like, yeah, the game's coming out. No, they just fucking work on the game. And they don't say anything until it starts getting close to, hey, it's almost done. Here's some teaser footage. Whereas everybody else is always trying to keep that constant fucking bullshit hype up, making promises that they're not going to keep. And then they ship a buggy, broken mess.
And they're not afraid to tell the fans, yeah, this game's getting delayed. You got a problem with that? Fuck you. Or you're working on our schedule. We're not working for yours.
I respect Rockstar for the same reason I used to respect Valve. It is ready when it's ready, but Valve quit putting out games.
Yes.
Do you think there'll ever be a Half-Life 3?
No. But you're talking to someone that's never played any of the Half-Life games.
I disagree. I do think that they will eventually do something just because the way that VR game, Half-Life Alyx, ends.
Mm-hmm.
Because Alyx is a prequel to the Half-Life 2 game series.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever, I'm not going to spoil it because none of this would mean anything to you not being familiar with the series. The ending for Alex wraps back around to the ending of the last Half-Life game that came out, which ends on a massive cliffhanger.
What was it, Half-Life 2, Chapter 2, or something like that? Or Episode 2?
Half-Life 2, Episode 2.
Yeah.
But they were supposed to do an Episode 3. They never did it. Everyone thought, well, maybe they're just doing so much that it's going to be a Half-Life 3. They found little bits and pieces here and there left in the source code for different games that they released, like Portal 2, Half-Life Alyx, shit like that.
Yeah.
I do think eventually they will do something with it. I think by the time it comes out, no one's going to give a shit anymore, though.
Only the true fans of the series are going to be like, oh my god, finally! I finally get to play Half-Life 3! And they die.
I really enjoyed Half-Life. I didn't play it until... I played the original Half-Life right before 2 came out.
Mm-hmm.
Because this was when so many music stores were going out. I think it was a Sam Goody at the time. They were having a going out of business sale, and they had a corner dedicated to PC games, and I got the box collection that had all of the Half-Life games and expansions for it in one box for like $5.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at the time it was still retailing for $30. I also got the full Myst collection for a steal. Shit like that. And that was the first time I actually played Half-Life. I'm like, wow, this is really fun. I wonder if they made any more of these games. And then shortly after that, Half-Life 2 came out. And I couldn't play it because we didn't have a graphics card in my computer. But my brother, who's a fucking champ, managed to get the settings low enough to make the game playable, except the dynamic lighting system did not work. Mm-hmm. So, and there's this big section in the middle of it called Ravenholm where everything's dark as shit.
Everyone knows about Ravenholm.
Yeah, we don't go to Ravenholm. And with no flashlight, you would think it would be unplayable. But my brother discovered that pickups, like health pickups and shit, whenever you shine the flashlight at them, the lighting system's not actually interacting with them. It just changes the texture to a lit up texture.
All right.
So he was essentially playing, connect the dots from pickup to pickup by shining it and finding med packs and shit. Because that was the only thing he could see in the pitch black sections. And managed to play Half-Life 2 start to finish on integrated graphics. On an old ass single thread AMD, like, half a gigahertz processor.
What a champ.
But after he did that, I loaded up a Myst game that would not run without a graphics card because they had introduced 360 degree still life images. Mm-hmm. So I couldn't do that. So I was like, you know what, fuck it, I want to go buy a graphics card. And my brother's like, you couldn't have done this 2 months ago. And after that, I played Half-Life 2.
Hell yeah.
But Tombstone...
That's what I was trying to so speaking of cowboys, they were a group of outlaws and the main antagonists for this movie.
Oh man. So this is Russel-Fest. Jeff, this one was your pick.
This was my pick. For those who are wondering, we're talking about Kurt Russell. But yes, the reason I picked this movie for 2 reasons. 1, this is a great movie. And 2, you had never seen it.
Well, it was on my list. But yeah,
it was on your
never
list.
Actually seen this movie.
You've never actually seen it, even though you are completely aware of all the references and the cultural impact that this movie has. Like, for example, your beloved book, Deadlands.
Yeah, that's... Oh, man. So... Just a little bit of background with me and Westerns. I might have mentioned some of this on the very first episode. Go and check it out. Or not first episode, second episode, when we did Red Dead Redemption. Mm-hmm. When I was a kid, all my dad ever watched was fucking Westerns, and I hated them. I could not stand Westerns. The thing that changed my mind was after Dark Souls made me rage quit video games for a few years, I got into tabletop gaming. And I picked up this card game that looked interesting called Doomtown. So if you remember the trading card game craze from the 90s with Magic the Gathering and Pokemon trading card game and Yu-Gi-Oh! And all that shit. One of them was called Doomtown. And Doomtown Reloaded was a re-implementation of that basic game system, where it took a trading card game and slapped poker mechanics in the middle of it. And reading through all the cards, I started getting the lore for this setting, which is a Weird West setting. So think Wild West with zombies and magic and shit.
So Undead Nightmare. Red Dead Redemption, yep. Undead Nightmare.
And I was just like, wow, this is like a really fleshed out world that they've got printed on these fucking cards. So I dug a little deeper. And I found out that it was based on an RPG setting produced for Savage Worlds called Deadlands. So through this card game, I found Deadlands, which has been my RPG of choice ever since I started playing them. I fell in love with these books, and so much of what I read in the lore for this RPG setting is built around references from old westerns and specific lines from Tombstone. To the point that the last book that I bought before they did a new edition, which I don't get into, talked about in that and another part that y'all might hear later. The last campaign that they produced for my version starts off with the shootout at the OK Corral, which is a big scene in this movie that we will eventually get to. But Deadlands made me give westerns a shot again, because right after finding that, I watched the True Grit remake, which thoroughly impressed me, and ever since then I've been slowly working through westerns that I didn't give a shot before, and Tombstone being on my list, I was really excited to do this one. So my history was I missed it. What about you, Jeff? What's your history with it?
Well, actually, it's funny. My history isn't all that different from yours. My dad loved westerns, and I'm just like, I don't give a shit. Until one day I was just flipping through channels. I was probably around the age of 10, and I come across this movie called Silverado, and I immediately, the scene I'm watching is like, okay, so you have Kevin Kline, you have Scott Glenn, Danny Glover, and you're thrown in John Cleese. That's right, Monty Python fame, that John Cleese. And I'm just like, okay, movie, you have my attention. And the scene goes on for about 10 minutes. It's all happening in this town called Turley, those Tadpog. It's named after Captain Gun nerd John Turley.
Of course, who else?
But I ended up, I watched the scene. I'm just like, I missed it. I need to watch the whole thing. So my parents were going out to dinner that night. I think my dad had some sort of business dinner that he had to attend. So they we went to the library to rent a movie, and I rented this Silverado, and I absolutely loved it. So I'm just like, okay, this is opening my doors for westerns. Let's see what else we got. Then I ended up watching Clint Eastwood, a Pale Rider. Obviously, it was years later, but I eventually watched Good and Bad and the Ugly. It was actually a few years after I watched Silverado is when I started watching. I started seeing Tombstones, but I've never seen the movie complete until like 10 years ago.
It's still 10 years before me.
Yes.
Now, I'm sure when this movie came out, my dad being big into westerns, this got played at my house, and I probably saw bits and pieces.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, prior to my awakening to westerns being good, the only two western movies that I remember liking when I was younger were Maverick.
I liked Maverick.
And Blazing Saddles.
Blazing Saddles is very good as well. Not my favorite, but still very good.
I know that we ended up having a random rant about top 3 Mel Brooks movies when Dalton and Millie were with us. I don't remember
Yes.
if it was the Drunken Review or if it was the Alien episode.
One or
I know
the
we
other.
talked a lot about Adam Sandler on the Alien episode because, naturally, I can't remember the order that I placed them in, but Blazing Saddles definitely in the top 3 Mel Brooks.
Oh, it's definitely top 3, but it's not my number 1. Young Frankenstein is still my number 1.
Frankenstein!
Luca!
Oh.
But yeah, Tombstone. How do we want to begin?
I guess the place that I would think to start is just kind of like, I didn't look into this movie very much before I started watching it. I knew it was a Kurt Russell film, and I knew that it was a very, very popular Western, but the thing that surprised me the most on that first watch was casting.
Yes. This casting is stacked.
This was such an ensemble of names. Because in the lead, even though like this is not a Wyatt Earp centric story, he is still kind of the lead protagonist, but all the Earps and Doc Holliday get a lot of screen time. You got Kurt Russell as Wyatt Earp. You got Val Kilmer stealing the show as Doc Holliday.
Oh, yes.
And god damn if he isn't super quotable from this movie, as you probably have noticed. Like, man.
One of the lines I use often, it's actually from, it's just a kind of a throwaway line. It's the first scene when you hear Val Kilmer tell Johnny Ringo, who is played by Michael Biehn, "I'm your Huckleberry." You remember that first scene right after the shootout at the OK Corral? Well, the situation is broken up, and Val Kilmer at the time was actually getting ready for a shave. So he returns to the barber, and he's just like, "Sir, proceed."
You know, I actually went and looked it up because I was curious. Because "I'm your Huckleberry" is one of those lines that I knew from this movie just through cultural osmosis. And I actually had to look it up, and I still haven't figured out how it originated yet. I didn't go that deep into it, but it was just such a random thing. I'm like, what the fuck does that actually mean? And it's just, you know, I'm the man for the job, I'm your guy. But I couldn't find the actual origin for the phrase, but it was a legit old turn of phrase that was used.
I've never bothered to look it up, but I'm intrigued to try to figure it out. But we'll save that for a later time. But continue with the cast of the main four. You've got Sam Elliott as Virgil Earp.
Fucking legend.
You can't have a Western without Sam Elliott and that glorious mustache of his. And that's the thing.
Now,
all the characters in this movie have mustaches.
Yep. The director was super into authenticity and made all of the actors grow out their own facial hair. Like every mustache that you see in this film is real except one. Do you know who had the fake one?
I'm going to say Kurt Russell.
Real.
Really? That's impressive.
Yep. The corrupt ass, was it Sheriff?
Sheriff Behan.
Yeah, Behan. He was the only one who had fake facial hair because he was a late addition and he had just come off of another set where he had to be clean shaven. So everyone else had real facial hair.
Yeah, that actor's name was John Tenney. Let's see. So I'm assuming he must have just came off from a movie called Watch It. But to round out the four, you have our boy Bill Paxton as Morgan Earp.
And like whenever I saw him show up on camera making my notes, I wrote down to my notes, this is all I have wrote for Morgan Earp. It's your boy Paxton. Well, that is a lie. I do have 2 notes for him. No one dies like Paxton.
It's true. He and Sean Bean have probably die the most on screen. Even though one of them I question, because we don't actually see it on screen. People say, "Oh, the Terminator killed him." We don't see him die in a Terminator. He gets shoved into the fence and gets knocked out. Now, unless the Terminator kills him off screen, that's not a death.
Yeah, we can argue it out later.
But yeah, so now we're going to start throwing in some other huge names that we've heard of. Powers Booth as Curly Bill. You got Michael Biehn as Johnny Ringo. You got Stephen Lane as Ike Clanton. Thomas Hayden Church. You got Dana Delaney as Josephine Marcus. You got Michael Rooker. Billy Bob
Charlton
Thornton.
Heston makes an appearance.
Yes.
Billy Bob Thornton.
Billy Zane.
Now, one of the fun facts I found, apparently his sister was the original casting for Josephine.
Who's his sister?
I think.
Oh, Lisa Zane?
Yep. And she got passed up for, what was the lady's name that actually...
Dana Delaney.
Yeah, Dana Delaney.
And I think she's fantastic.
She got swapped out. And then after that, they turned around and cast Billy.
Oops. Yeah, there's a lot of huge names in this movie.
Now, did you catch Frank Stallone in it?
I didn't realize he was in this movie, but now I'm looking at the cast list. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, the intro scene for Doc Holliday, that is who Doc stabs. Yeah, the whole, I would be devastated if you weren't my friend. And then he puts the guns down, and they start the fight as Frank Stallone.
There. Now we can be friends again. You sweet, soft Hungarian devil. God damn it, Val Kilmer. Man, so fucking charming.
The voice coach that taught him that old Georgian aristocrat drawl.
Mm-hmm.
I actually saw a clip of an interview with Val Kilmer talking about this movie. The drawl that they taught him was so slow that if he had tried to do it, he said that the movie would have been over 4 hours long.
Mm-hmm.
So as much as they wanted to be authentic with it, he did have to pick up the pace.
Which I think is the more effective. It worked so much better.
But apparently had a really hard time finding somebody who could teach him that, where it was kind of a dead accent.
Mm-hmm.
It was something that's not really a thing anymore. Anywhere.
Times are changing.
Well, it's like if you want to hear the authentic original British accent, I've always heard that it's the Virginian accent.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is the reason that so many British actors are better at doing the Southern accent in movies. I don't know if you've noticed that.
Oh, I catch it.
Because watching The Walking Dead, whenever I saw an interview with the dude who plays Rick, and he's British, I'm like, what the fuck? Totally threw me.
Wait, the main character is British?
In real life, yeah, the actor is British.
Huh.
And so is the guy who saves him in the first episode. I can't remember the character's name. It's been so long. He's British too.
I haven't seen. I've only watched like 2 episodes, and that was like 10 years ago. And the show was only in its 11th season.
I watched probably the first 6 seasons, I think. I was super happy with who they cast for Negan.
Jeffrey
I've
Dean
always
Morgan.
said that, yeah, like
You want to learn a little fun fact?
What's that?
So he did it wasn't a cameo, just like a bit part in another series back in 2003, and this bit part almost caused him to quit acting altogether. Do you know what that bit part was? What show it was for?
The only other shows that I know that he was in, I know he was in Grey's Anatomy, and I know he was in Supernatural. But I'm not sure.
Give up?
Yeah, I got nothing.
Star Trek.
Oh shit! Did he have a red shirt?
No, So it was for that prequel series I was on at the time, Star Trek Enterprise. And this was a season 3 episode, and for those that have watched the show, season 3, the entire season long arc is the Starfleet against this alien race called the Xindi, and one of the Xindi he was portraying, they were called reptilians, and they would have to wear this like very elaborate latex suit, this costume, but it was such torture for Jeffrey Dean Morgan that he almost gave up acting. He hated that, just having to sit in a makeup chair for hours as they applied this makeup.
Yeah, I'm looking at an image, and that looks like it would be miserable to have to go through and have put on.
And I think his total on-screen appearance for that episode is like 5 to 10 minutes. So it's nothing. So can you imagine having to sit in that makeup chair for hours just for like 5 minutes of screen time?
Fuck. But I've always said, I'm a straight guy. I've never really questioned my sexuality, but I get in a tickle fight with that man and just see where it goes.
Since your life has been woken up with westerns, I have another western you should check out, another drama miniseries, and it stars with our boy Bill Paxton.
Woo!
It also has Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Brendan Fraser, and Ray Liotta. Check out Texas Rising. And I think it's 10 episodes long. It's about Texas fighting for its land against General Santa Anna and the Mexican army. Like the first episode takes place immediately after the Battle of the Alamo.
Yeah, I'm sold.
It's very good. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I ended up watching it just because shortly after Bill Paxton's death, I was just like, I need to start watching more stuff that he was in. So I ended up watching that. I ended up watching A Simple Plan with him and Billy Bob Thornton. Man could act. It hurt when he died.
Yeah, I wasn't plugged in when he went. I did find out about it, though. So, I gotta ask you, since we've been talking about casting on Tombstone, your favorite casting decision out of a stacked cast of perfect casting. Who is your favorite?
It's definitely Kilmer. And I have to say... Go ahead.
Oh, you go ahead and say what you want to say, and then I'll bring it up.
I was just going to say, I have a feeling that's like 90% of everyone's favorite, that pick.
Do you know who was originally cast to play Doc Holliday?
Let me see. I'm just going through the old Wikipedia.
Ah, come on. He was cast and Disney said no, and they replaced him with Val Kilmer.
I'm not seeing it.
Willem Dafoe. Can you imagine how different this movie would have been?
I don't like it. I love Willem Dafoe. I don't think that's a good pick. They made the right choice.
I don't think the movie would have been bad. I don't think that it would have been as iconic.
Yes. I mean, it's just basically like the Green Goblin saying, "I'm your Huckleberry." It doesn't have the same panache. It's completely different.
But think about the balls that the character had to have, and Willem Dafoe is renowned for having a distractingly large penis.
They wore those tight-fitting clothes. It would be as distracting as David Bowie in Labyrinth.
Man, his dick deserved its own spot in the credits. I don't know why a family movie had so many lingering crotch shots on David Bowie.
Because he was Ziggy Stardust. He demanded his screen time. But yes, they did focus too much on his penis. And it didn't help. It's just like the costume that he wore. It's just like, yeah, we know. We don't care.
I'm gonna say my favorite casting decision was Sam Elliott, and I know that you can't do a proper western without that man, but I don't think they could have had a better pick for Virgil.
No, he was perfect, and I can't anyone else playing Morgan other than Bill Paxton. And even at this point now, it's just like Wyatt Earp. Even though yes, there was a movie that came out 1 year after this starring Kevin Costner, which was nowhere near as well received. Actually, it was pretty shit upon.
Half the box office, and
I think it's an hour longer.
Yeah, 3 hours. They were originally looking at doing Tombstone with Kevin Costner, but he wanted the movie to be more centered on Wyatt Earp instead of the ensemble.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a really big name at the time because this was just after Dances with Wolves.
Another good Western.
And something else that he had done where he got the lead over Kurt Russell, and it was a baseball movie. It wasn't Field of Dreams, but I can't remember the name of it.
Shit. Bull Durham.
Yeah. Kurt Russell lost that at the last minute, and Kurt Russell used to actually play professional baseball.
Mm-hmm.
So there was kind of that perceived rivalry there.
Yeah.
But he wanted the movie to go in a different direction, and the people working on Tombstone said, no, that's not what we want to do. So he went and bankrolled the Wyatt Earp film and started trying to shut down the Tombstone production. The biggest reason they had such a hard time getting their shit together to make Tombstone was because of Costner's Wyatt Earp film. Apparently that movie and then another Western that they were shooting at the time drank up all of the fucking Wild West costumes in Hollywood.
What other...
I can't remember what the other one was.
Western movies in 1993. So we had the Ballad of Little Joe, Geronimo, Gunsmoke, The Long Ride, The Last Outlaw. Maybe that was it.
I can't remember the other one.
Stars Mickey Rourke.
Maybe that was it.
You had Posse.
But by the time they actually went to shoot Tombstone, they couldn't get wardrobe in. So they brought in this group. I think they were called the Buckaroos, and they actually served as most of the extras for the film. And their outfits for Wild West attire were so good that the wardrobe department used them as templates to make all the costume design from. But they went whole hog on the fucking accuracy. They were having real wool costumes made. That's why everyone is just sweating bullets in the fucking desert.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they weren't having to go out there and spritz them. They were.
Oh, I know. I have to imagine. I can't imagine. It's just like, yep, you're wearing all this clothing, while at the same time you gotta be standing out in 80, 90 degree desert heat. And then eventually it's like, hey, so the next scene is inside this hot building. Have a warm drink while you're at it.
Everything I've heard, the Kevin Costner film is more historically accurate.
Mm-hmm.
Even though Tombstone is surprisingly historically accurate. The liberties they took were clearly for the purpose of telling a story, instead of hey, let's try and make this interesting because it's naturally boring. No, they were trying to condense this big story, and every film about Wyatt Earp up to this point pretty much ended with the shootout at OK Corral.
Yeah.
So the fact that was the midpoint of the movie, and then it keeps going.
Well, yeah, we have to see the what hold on, what do they call it? They're
Doc called it the reckoning.
Hold on. Go ahead and keep talking. I'm trying to there is a specific thing that they called this.
Oh, I wish I could remember what specific word that they were using.
The Vendetta Ride. That's what it's called.
Yep.
The Earp Vendetta Ride. There wasn't a 20-second pause in there.
Truncate silence, take care of it.
But yeah, all the stuff that happens, Doc Holliday did have tuberculosis. Yes, he did try to go out to the desert to try to relieve its symptoms, but, the man was a heavy gambler, drinker, and smoker. It wasn't doing him any favors. And he didn't help that he would stay up 36 hours without sleep.
Now, something about Val Kilmer's performance that was really subtle that I thought was a really nice touch. Did you notice that every time there was sudden gunfire and you'd see all the Earps kind of like jerk and look to where it was coming, Doc Holliday never flinches? Did you notice that little touch?
Cool heads.
Well, not just that. Having tuberculosis, he knew he was dying.
Yeah.
And, it's the reason that he took so many chances whenever he was riding with Wyatt was, I'm going to die anyway. I might as well go out in a blaze of glory.
And they even asked him, it's like, Doc, you should be in bed resting. Why are you doing this? Wyatt Earp is my friend.
I got plenty of friends.
I don't.
That was one of the most moving lines in the film, because that really showed just how tight the two of them were.
Yeah. And that's why it was important to Doc to make sure Wyatt wasn't there when he died. And apparently it is accurate, him saying, this is funny, when he's in bed with his boots off. Apparently that's accurate, because he always thought, I'm going to die with with a gun in my hand, and it's just like, no, he died in bed with his boots off.
But the man of the hour, Kurt Russell.
Yes. The reason we're dedicating this month.
I've heard a bunch of people talking about the making of this film and how it wouldn't have been made if not for all the shit that Kurt Russell was doing behind the scenes. Apparently, he was shadow directing.
All right.
So he was making the shot lists and calling a lot of the shots in the background. But the actual director, who
George Cosmatos.
Yeah. Russell had promised not to talk about this while he was still alive. And a couple years after he passed away, he did admit that when they put him in the position that he was largely following Kurt Russell's lead.
Yeah, that's what I'm reading right now.
Now, he did have passion for making this movie. If you listen to the audio commentary that was only available on the DVD director's cut, a lot of the things that the director talked about, you can tell that he really did want this movie to come together and work. But by the accounts of Kurt Russell and Val Kilmer, it does really sound like Kurt Russell made a lot of the stuff come together last minute.
Mm-hmm.
Because the script rewrites that they had to do and some other things made shooting this movie an absolute miserable experience and was really chaotic, where they were trying to hit that December deadline that Disney was mandating.
I'm just doing a little research. It's like, Kurt Russell was a ghost director for this. I'm just like, does he have any directing roles or directing credits? And I'm not seeing anything. I mean, he was a writer and producer for Escape from L.A., but I'm not seeing anything about a director.
Yeah, apparently he was doing the shot lists, and he actually went through and cut a bunch of his own stuff out of the script. So he was sacrificing his screen time to make sure that all the other guys got their time in, and that it was treated more like an ensemble instead of a Wyatt Earp film.
Sure. This is a movie, not a biopic.
When they actually got started shooting, the script had changed so much that if that version had been presented to Sam Elliott, he said that he would not have signed on to the film. And Kurt Russell managed to wrangle things up enough that everyone was more or less happy with the end result. when everything was said and done.
One thing I just wanted to throw in quickly before we go back to Kurt Russell was I wanted to throw in some praise to Billy Bob, because the scene that he's in, he's supposed to be this angry prick card dealer in a hotel / casino, and that's where we hear the famous line, "You gotta do something about it. You just gotta stand there and bleed." You can see the entire time Kurt Russell's getting in his face, trying to intimidate him, and slowly and surely you start seeing Billy Bob's eyes start changing, and then it's just like you can't, or it's like, "You can't scare me, buddy," or something like that. And it's just like I can see it in your eyes. And then I started looking at Billy Bob's eyes like, my God, those are full of fear.
And I was amazed to find out that scene was historically accurate. Wyatt Earp really did walk into the Continental, throw out the dealer, and immediately take his job. Now, it happened in a different timeline than the movie presents it. It happened after they'd been there for about 2 years. But creative liberties.
2 years, 2 minutes. Who cares?
But that was immediately followed by what is, in my opinion, the funniest scene of the entire movie. When Doc Holliday is introduced, and Billy Bob's character is coming up with a shotgun to get vengeance on Wyatt, only to discover who he's fucking with. And, they're standing there talking, and he's just kind of standing there all impotent with his shotgun. Like
he's in the background. The camera is focused on it's Doc, Virgil, Wyatt, and
Morgan.
And Morgan, yeah, Morgan. The camera is focused on them, but you just see Billy Bob Thornton, or his character's name is Johnny Tyler, just in the background. The camera's not even like he's out of focus, and then it just they're having a laugh, and then Doc just remembers, like, "Oh, Johnny, I forgot you were still there. You may go.
Leave the shotgun. Leave it."
Thank you. Because he knows, because he found out, it's like, "Oh shit, you're Wyatt Earp. You're letting me go. Thank you."
I have to say, Kurt Russell did a really good job of portraying the kind of two sides of Wyatt's character.
Mm-hmm.
The man who wants so much to be loyal to his wife. I wasn't that hot on the love interest infidelity subplot, but the on-screen chemistry, he made it believable. But then the fact that he could flip on a switch and be scary as shit, like in the scene with when Curly Bill is all hopped up on opium and firing his gun in the streets,
mm-hmm.
and the marshal goes out to disarm him, and he has the misfire, and Wyatt goes out, pistol whips him. And you got half the town yelling, "Lynch him," and the cowboys yelling, "Let him go." Whenever he pulls his gun out and puts it in that dude's face, and you can tell Ike's just, on the verge of pissing himself. It's like, he's bluffing. He ain't going to shoot him. No. He'll kill me. He'll kill me dead.
He ain't bluffing. And it cuts back to Kurt Russell, and you just see, it's like, you're not as stupid as you look.
But yeah, just that you can see the murder in his eyes, and I'm like, I believe it.
Mm-hmm.
And in one of the interviews, Sam Elliott actually talked about how Kurt really embodied the character when they were doing it. He's like, you get in on set, he comes in, he's wearing flip-flops, a straw hat to keep the sun off of him, a pair of shorts. He goes into his trailer, he comes out, and it's Wyatt Earp.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, you see him, and he's just kind of embodying that character so much, you almost forget.
He's gone method.
And from my understanding, Kurt Russell was not a method actor, but he just really, he put a lot into making that character work. And my favorite Kurt Russell movies from when I was a kid were ridiculous ones for one reason or another. Like Overboard, they did with Goldie Hawn.
Which I just watched.
Captain Ron.
I watched Captain Ron a long time ago, like in the 90s. I finally watched Overboard for the first time like a few months ago. And I think that's a very cute movie. And that was one of the movies I was thinking. Actually, no, it's funny. That and The Thing were the two movies I was telling myself, or that gave me the idea for Russell Month.
And whenever you pitched doing a month dedicated to Kurt Russell, I don't know if I ever told you this. I had notes as a potential, should we do a Kurt Russell month? That I hadn't pitched to you yet. And when you mentioned that, I'm like, holy shit.
We're on the same page.
This is never going to happen again. But I'd even went so far as I made a spreadsheet of every movie the man had made, along with a couple of others alongside of Nick Cage, which we had already started.
Mm-hmm.
But the Kurt Russell movies that I always associated with him were never these really big dramatic roles. They were like comedies when I was a kid, or like action with like some melodrama to it.
Yeah.
Like just ridiculous shit. I think Kurt Russell, I think Death Proof.
I think Kurt Russell, I think of The Christmas Chronicles, which he actually does play he actually does play a pretty decent Santa. They're not good, but I find those movies entertaining.
I actually watched my first Christmas movie in probably 20 years. No, closer to 10. That Dear Santa movie that Jack Black did last year.
Oh, yeah.
Which was really tonally weird. It's like 90s comedy aesthetic, but with, 2020's irreverence slapped on top of it. Like tonally it was weird.
I have no urge to see it.
I mean, there's some funny goofs in it.
I'm good.
But I mean, it's Jack Black playing Jack Black.
What does he not play Jack Black? Probably Never Ending Story 3.
No, he's pretty Jack Black in that movie,
you're right.
too.
But that role is weird because his unibrow is so distracting.
I'm more distracted by the fact that he's skinny in it.
Yeah, it's funny because it's only a few years later, all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, now he's playing the character in Mars Attacks. And then a few years after that, you got Shallow Hal, so I was like, oh, okay, so this is the start of him gaining weight.
I think
and then eventually becoming...
I think he was a background character in Grosse Point Blank.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a secondary. But yeah, I think Shallow Hal was the first Jack Black movie I remember.
Yeah.
I think he is a great voice actor.
Oh, I loved him as Bowser.
I really like him in Kung Fu Panda.
He's good in Kung Fu Panda, yeah. But Kurt Russell.
Man, we go a month without talking, and we got to get the extra tangents in.
We have so many tangents. Literally, we're gonna have to start releasing episodes just called "Oops, All Tangents."
Wasn't that the drunken review?
But no, that's the title of that episode was the drunken review. That was a planned.
Yeah, but
episode.
it was an oops all. Well, it was. Is it really oops all tangents if we planned to do an episode of nothing but tangents?
No.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying. We need to start just releasing episodes where it's just like, oops, all tangents. But we have to do it in the Final Fantasy font. So it's like, we'll have a part 1, then part 2 will be the Roman numeral, and just go from there. Why? Who cares? It's fun, goddammit.
But I will be honest, when I first started the movie, and it introduced, Kurt Russell as Wyatt Earp, it took me probably about 10 minutes to adjust to the idea of him being white, because I didn't know for sure going in who he was going to be playing. I just knew that he was in it. And if you had asked me, knowing nothing of the movie except the fact I didn't know that Sam Elliott was in it, and I knew that Val Kilmer was in it, I would have guessed Sam Elliott for being white, just because I'm a big fan of Sam Elliott.
Mm-hmm.
So adjusting that particular expectation, which I thought he was amazing as Virgil.
Yes.
So just once I got past that immediate adjustment, I do think that he is probably the definitive portrayal of Wyatt Earp in film. Having not seen any of the others to compare it against, I still think he's probably it.
Yeah, I haven't seen the Costner movie, and I'm still willing to watch it, even though it's pretty much hated. I'm still curious.
I would like to check it out. Like, I don't hate Kevin Costner films.
No.
I always felt that they are usually 90 minutes longer than they need to be.
Yes. They do. If you're a fan of Costner, you're expecting a certain style that only he does. I mean, he's like his deliveries are slow. He lets scenes breathe. I guess that's what he was trying to do with the Wyatt Earp movie, just allowing the movie to breathe. But sometimes apparently added are scenes with more time able to dedicate to like events and allow our character growth. That didn't happen. It's just
I do think that the one flaw with this movie is where they were trying to cram so much into the runtime.
It's a 2-hour, 10-minute movie.
Yeah, but I think they could have done with an extra 20 minutes or so to allow some of the stuff, like you said, a little bit of room to breathe and develop at less of a breakneck pace.
I'm just trying to think, what scenes could they have dragged out?
Well, I know there is one very specific deleted scene that, if nothing else, they should have left it in the film, where Wyatt and his wife actually have a argument where the affair and her morphine addiction are addressed.
Laudanum. Or is that morphine?
Yeah, I think it was. I think you got the period name right, but yeah, functionally it was morphine.
Okay.
That I saw clips from it. I haven't got to see the entire scene. I know it was included in the director's cut. That scene definitely should have been left in, because I really felt like the affair is treated emotional, and it's never explicitly addressed as being a physical affair.
No, it's always just kind of we're talking about it, but barely mentioning it, if that makes sense.
It was left as subtext between him and his wife, and then she leaves with Virgil after the, OK Corral shootout, and she's never seen again. And then you find out in the voiceover at the end of the film that she died
like 2 years later
after leaving
from a drug overdose.
So, which finding out, because they super lightly hint at it in the movie about him and her both having their own respective histories.
Yeah.
Do you know anything about the true story of him and his wife?
No, not really.
Right.
I'm assuming it's they met in Dodge City.
So the background that the movie gives for Wyatt Earp is abridged. You know that he is a former lawman, and he's come out here to this silver boom town to make money. The real life Wyatt Earp, yes, had been a lawman, but he had also been a lot of other things, including at one point a pimp, and she was one of his whores. That was how they met. So
there you go.
Which give me, again, Red Dead Redemption vibes with John Marston.
I wonder if that's something that the Costner movie addresses. 3-hour runtime. I have to assume they mentioned it.
Knowing Costner, I would imagine that they would still gloss over that particular aspect of the character. Because him wanting it to be very Wyatt Earp centric was all in service of his ego, in my opinion. I don't know the man, but they really, the things that they chose to leave out were very strategic. But there's so much story that they fit into that 2-hour runtime. I did have moments where I was like getting a little bit of whiplash of, wait, what what all's going on? Okay, I'm catching up. Oh shit, there's more stuff. And all of the background is kind of just hinted at in passing.
Yeah.
And it's a strength of the movie as well as a weakness, though, because watching this movie made me want to look more into the true story on Wyatt Earp.
But isn't that something that movies should do? Especially as something that's supposed to be like taken on a historical event. It's like, yes, these events occurred. Yes, not everything was addressed. We want you to do the research.
Yeah, that's why I say, it's also a strength for it. But I would not have complained at all if there had been an extra just 20 minutes to the film so that it was less crammed full, if that makes sense. And even though as big a rush as they were in, and you can tell that there was shit that went wrong on set and they just had to go with it.
Well, it's actually one of the things I'll agree with you on. First time I saw this, even just happened to catch the ending, there was something that the way it's shot always threw me. It's the last two of the cowboys that Wyatt and Doc Holliday are chasing. It's Ike Clanton and Sheriff Behan. You see, the camera is showing Sheriff Behan riding as fast as he could on a horse with Ike behind him, but the camera then cuts to Ike. He throws away the sash, denouncing him a cowboy, and then it's just like, okay, they put away their guns, they shake hands, and they go about their day. It's just like, you just glossed over what the hell happened with Behan. I had to research it. He didn't die after this, or from this shootout. He didn't die until like 30, 40 years later. So like 1879, these events are supposed to be happening. He didn't die until 1912.
And it was accurate that they didn't kill Ike, who was kind of the thing that got all the stuff started. In real history, Ike was not a cowboy. He was a local farmer who was a close associate with them that was buying cattle off of them. And Wyatt was running for sheriff against Behan.
Mm-hmm.
But then Behan approached him and was like, hey, look, you be my right-hand man, because if you're the sheriff, you're getting 10% of the taxes on all the silver mined, which would have been like $30,000 a year in their money, $1 million a year, modern day. And he's like, I'll split it 50-50 with you if you'll step out of the race and be my right hand. Guess what he didn't do? Never paid up. So then it became Wyatt had to win the next election. And the way that he was going about that was there were 3 cowboys who were wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And Ike turned to give them information to help them get them. But it ended up being a bust because they got killed in something else before they were able to get them to boost his kind of standing in the town.
Yeah.
But I kept getting more and more paranoid, thinking Wyatt's going to spill the beans to one of his brothers or to the sheriff, and it's going to get back to the cowboys, and they're going to know that I was ratting on them. And that was what sparked all the bullshit that led to the shootout of the OK Corral. But yeah, when everything was said and done, he walked away from the vendetta. And then a few years later, he got killed in a completely different incident.
Yeah, like an attempted robbery. But I was just like, some of the camera shots, they cut out. There were some strange choices. I was just like, hold up, this doesn't make sense.
Like when Virgil gets shot, and they're telling him that he's going to lose the use of his left arm, and Morgan storms out of the house screaming and ready for a fight.
Mm-hmm.
And Wyatt hangs back, and then he walks out and hears gunfire, and it cuts over to Morgan back at the Oriental shooting pool. So apparently he went out the door, sprinted over there, and started playing pool again after his big dramatic storm out, which is kind of a wait, what the fuck?
I mean, obviously, that's accurate to what happened, but it's just like, that's 10 seconds. He went from
Yeah.
running and yelling to, okay, time to shoot some pool.
And, it's movie magic trying to condense events down because in real life, yes, Virgil was shot by cowboys with a shotgun the way that it happened in the movie. The cowboys attacking the wives never happened. And then on a different day, not the same night, Morgan was shot in the back while playing pool.
Yes.
So, they're getting these events accurate, but the way that they got the characters to where they needed to be for it, it's a little bit, you could have done that better. And then production issues whenever Wyatt's out after Morgan's death in the rain, crying and covered in his brother's blood. If you're paying attention, you realize it's a very localized rain cloud.
Oh, yes.
Because the rain machine, either they didn't have the funds to be able to make it look like the entire street was under a downpour, or they had some kind of malfunction, just had to go with what they could do.
It always found it odd. It's like the camera during that whole scene is like maybe 2 minutes. And he's walking around, he's holding up his hands. His hands are drenched with Morgan's blood. And the entire time, I just can't help it. That rain is not washing away that blood. That it's coated to his hands. It eventually wipes away or goes away is because he's wiping it all over his shirt. It's like that blood should start, and it's pouring. It's like that blood isn't going anywhere. I always found that to be an odd choice.
Have you ever actually messed with stage blood?
No.
Yeah, I can understand why that shit wouldn't wash off. Especially if you were using the recipe that they did for Evil Dead.
Mm-hmm.
Which was corn syrup with red food coloring in it.
Oh, it looks thicker. So it makes sense. Whatever they were using, I get why it wasn't washing away. But blood should wash away.
Yeah, real blood does wash away a little bit easier now.
These are nitpicks.
Oh yeah, nitpicks.
Do we want to... Do you have more things to say, or do we want to rate?
Watch Tombstone if you haven't watched it, and if you ain't watched it in a while, go watch it again.
Yeah. Did you after you watched it, it's just like did you end up watching it the next night?
I didn't get to do a full rewatch because of stuff and things, but I'm going to be rewatching this movie probably a couple more times over the next couple weeks, just because I had such a good time watching it the first time.
So, how many movies? It's 3 movies now that you have never seen before, and all of a sudden it's just like, damn it, Jeff, you're picking some bangers. Because the first one was Speed Racer,
which I did not expect to like at all, and you didn't even pick the movie; you picked the show.
I picked the show,
and I settled for the movie because I couldn't stand watching the show.
And I will say that might be the better choice because I love that movie. But then the next movie, well, actually, no, there's 4. There's 4 movies. You have never seen Tremors.
What was the other one that
Lord of
really
War
grabbed me? Yeah, I did enjoy Lord of War, but I did only watch it once. But yeah, I had a blast with Tremors, and I had a blast with Speed Racer. And my daughter really liked that one, so that's kind of become a movie that me and her have watched a couple of times together.
So I've been giving you some bangers. And don't get me wrong, I love the movies that you made me watch for the show. And that's why I'm excited for next pick. Because we've discussed this already. I have never seen this movie. But we'll talk about that in a little bit.
So final thoughts on Tombstone, Jeff. What's yours?
It provides a condensed, entertaining history lesson that does omit a lot of details, but that's why it's important to actually watch a documentary about the real events or read a book. This movie, it served 2 purposes, and I just stated them. It's trying to give a history lesson, but it's also trying to be entertaining, and it just succeeds in both. Is this my favorite Kurt Russell movie? I'm still trying to determine that one because I love this movie. I love The Thing. And It's a recent pick, but I really do enjoy Overboard. My poor baby. 1 second, I'm gonna block my cat's throwing up.
Good.
Poor baby. But I mean, everyone, even if it's just a tiny role, everyone is playing to the best that they can do. Everyone's fantastic. The music, I really like the soundtrack. It's not my favorite. I've heard this guy before, Bruce Broughton. He actually does the soundtrack to Silverado, which I prefer. But no, some might say this movie is 2 hours long. This movie flies. There's something I've been listening from other podcasts that's called the phone test. And that is, can you make it through an entire, watch whatever it is you're watching without picking up your phone? I only picked up my phone once, and that was just like the beginning of the movie when it was doing a little, the church scene, the Mexican church scene. I picked up my phone once during that scene, but then after that, I was hooked. So.
Yeah, I think that this movie passed that test for me. I don't remember touching my phone at all for the entire film.
Mm-hmm.
I did have to pause it because the dog decided to be an asshole and wanted to go pee.
Oh,
but I can't control his bladder. But I think this movie is already in my favorite westerns list. I'm not sure how it's ranking yet. I've got to get more westerns under my belt to have a proper ranking, but I'm pretty sure this is going to stay very easily within the top 5 for the foreseeable future, if not top 3 for me. Because every time, whenever it gets story heavy, and just when you're about hitting the point of, man, you know what we could do with some more shooting, this movie starts kicking the action back up again.
Mm-hmm.
The only real misstep that I felt the movie had was I think it did spend too much time on the love plot with Josephine.
Mm-hmm.
I think if they had left that scene in where Wyatt and his wife are actually fighting about the affair and acknowledging it instead of it being a subtext, or if they had just kind of cut it down some more, I think that would have been better. Because really, the real love story in this movie is Wyatt and Doc.
Yes. Absolutely. Before you continue, you said there is a director's cut. Do you know how much time is added to the director's cut?
Google knows. Hold on. Let's see. The director's cut is 2 hours and 16 minutes. And the theatrical with credits was 2 hours and 7. So they only added an extra 10 minutes to the runtime. I really would like to get a hold of a 4K re-release of this movie.
Yeah, the version I rented is this movie is in HD, and there were a couple scenes, or for the most part, it's okay, I could see they freshened, they crisped it up a little bit, but then you get a few scenes like Morgan's death. You could definitely tell, oh, okay, that's a 1993 camera.
Yeah. In high def, you really can see some of the corners they had to cut to make the movie happen. And even though, it might not have been the best picture of the year when it came out, it's a solid, good modern Western. Mm-hmm. And when I say modern, I'm comparing to the heyday in the 70s when state Westerns were a mainstay of American cinema.
Mm-hmm.
If you're like I used to be and you don't like Westerns, I would say give Tombstone a shot. Because if there is a movie that will change your mind on Westerns, I think this is definitely one of them. It is a solid, well-done story. Great ensemble cast. That all, bring their A game. Even for people who are barely in the movie. They're making really big impressions. And yeah, for a Kurt Russell movie, Val Kilmer unfortunately stole the show from.
Oh yes.
And I want to say it. While this is not going to take the spot of my favorite Kurt Russell movie, but this is easily my favorite Val Kilmer film.
Oh, well, it goes without saying because I don't like Top Gun. I've never seen The Saint, Batman Forever.
It was a movie.
Oh, I was intentionally leaving that pause, and I hope that you don't truncate that silence.
Wasn't he in Island of Dr. Moreau?
Was
the
he?
remake?
I don't know. Let's see.
I could be mistaken on that one. I feel like he was in Island of Dr. Moreau.
I do feel sorry for him because apparently now he's just like he's so sick he's unable to, like, he can't speak.
Yeah, the last movie that I know of that he was in, The Snowman, they had to go in and dub him because you couldn't understand what he said.
Well, even Top Gun Maverick, they did the same thing, only I think they took some of his dialogue from the previous movie and they just kind of spliced it together. So, obviously...
I forgot he was in Willow.
Oh. He was in Wyatt Earp's Revenge, playing Wyatt Earp. And Wilson Bethel plays Doc Holliday.
That had to be a very strange decision, or string of decisions for that film to happen.
It says he plays an older Wyatt Earp, so obviously it's Tombstone, the older years. But yeah. Yep. Everyone, if you haven't watched...
I did find it.
Oh, you did?
Yep.
But if you've never seen this movie, watch it. If you haven't seen this movie in a long time, watch it. If you just watched it yesterday, watch it.
If you hate Westerns, give it a shot. That is like the best recommendation I can give for it. Because I like the movie on its own merits, completely devoid of the fact that it was a Western. I thoroughly enjoyed the movie. So I guess that just leaves for what we're doing next time.
Indeed. And I just looked it up, and I am very excited about who is directing it.
Oh. So, Kurt Russell's done a few Western movies, and he definitely has the kind of presence for a Western. I think it's a genre that suits him well. But there is another genre that also suits him very well, and that is cheese. And we're going to be getting really cheesy next time as we wrap up with our next episode for Russel-Fest. So next time around, Jeff, you and me, we're going to be watching Big Trouble in Little China.
And that's why I'm very excited to watch it, because one, I've never seen this before. Two, director is John Carpenter.
They have done a lot together, if I'm remembering right.
And let's just say, I'm full chub right now.
I knew once you found that out, you were going to be excited about it.
And Kim Cattrall, I like her as well. She was in Star Trek. Haha. But very exciting. I am very excited to watch this. Like I said, I've never seen this before. Oh. The release poster was drawn by Drew Struzan. I'm excited. So, good pick. Very good pick.
Yep, and if I get a chance to, I'll even play the Big Trouble in Little China card game and be able to talk about how well it adapted the film to the medium of cards. You're giving me the I'm full of shit look like this doesn't exist.
No. I'm giving you the I am very intrigued, dude.
Yep. I got a game for everything, man.
Well, now you need to get a game for Speed Racer. I'm sure there is one.
I don't have a Speed Racer game, but I got a Fast and Furious game.
Good enough.
But yeah, the Legendary system is a deck building game system that when they made it for Marvel superheroes. And I've got just a massive collection of those. I don't have all of them, but I've got like probably 3/4 of the ones that they've released for that. But they released some for movies and TV shows. So they've got Big Trouble in Little China. They've got the Alien one, Predator, Firefly, and Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and X-Files. Those are the ones that I can remember that they've made.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I'm just reading, so you can go ahead and, if you want to go ahead and start.
Good. Well, I think that's all we've got for the night.
That is correct.
I don't have anything else to say on the subject. I couldn't come up with a quiz that would do this movie justice. Maybe we'll wrap it up next week with a big Kurt Russell themed one.
I look forward to that.
So as always, I've been Mr. Puzzles, he's been Grumpy Jeff, you've been our audience, and thank you for listening this far. If you've made it to here, you're a real champ, but you don't know what you're still in for. And I'd like to thank you once again for listening to this week's big steamy media dump. Jeff, you got anything else you want to say for the audience?
Yes. Dane, give yourself a pat on the back because we made it through an entire episode without technical difficulties. We did it. We did it. And then everything crashes right now.
Well, before any of that can happen, I guess there's just one last thing for me to say. Well, bye. Our theme song is Moonpath by Nile The Nightmare. You can find a link to that track as well as his full discography in the show notes or by visiting nilethenightmare.bandcamp.com. Want to hang out with us and a bunch of other entertaining degenerates? Join us on Discord at bit.ly/TSMPDiscord, all caps. Enjoy the show, rate us where you're at, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next one.
Right. Actually, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to look it up. How many episodes have we done so far?
This is 14.
This is 14?
Mm-hmm.
I was off by one. Let's see. What's the relevance between Tombstone and 14? Nothing.
If there is one, Google will know. I was listening to a bunch of stuff and finding out some, like, real history on, all the shit with Wyatt Earp and the OK Corral and all that. I was curious how accurate the movie actually was. How much do you know about it?
Very little. I mean, obviously, I know the major things. You know, like, obviously, the OK Corral, from what I know. I know Doc Holliday was a gunslinger.
Yeah, but he only actually career killed 2 men.
So the film obviously takes liberties.
But surprisingly few. Like, the dude that wrote the original script, which they hacked a lot of shit out of it, from what I was finding out, was really into historical accuracy.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, most of the stuff that they did was historically accurate, just heavily condensed.
Well, I think there are some things that they've taken liberties, like the McMaster's death at the end, where he was dragged just to send a message to Wyatt. Apparently, that's not entirely true. So there are some things that the movie takes, just Hollywood stuff, Hollywood magic or whatever you want to call it. But it's very minimal.
Like the penultimate shootout with Ringo, he was killed. No one knows who killed him. It was officially ruled a suicide, and it happened like 6 months after they had all left the territory.
Yeah.
And, his reckoning only ended up in the deaths of like 4 cowboys. But that whole walking out in the middle of everything and shooting down, what was the dude's name? The leader before Ringo.
Let's see. Curly Bill.
Yeah. That's historically accurate. And their version of the OK Corral shootout while stretched to make it a little bit more cinematic, was by and large accurate. It's just Virgil and Doc both got injured during it too. But like the whole part about Ike running up, I don't have a weapon. Yeah, that was accurate.
Well, apparently the other thing where Morgan was dying, and he says, "It ain't true. I can't see a damn thing." There are records of that, but I'm not sure. I don't think it's been entirely proven that he actually said that while he was dying. So that one is kind of up in the air. But like the narration at the end where he died in Los Angeles and Tom Mix was one of his pallbearers, that is true, because Tom Mix, I did a little research, like, okay, I need to look this up. He was like one of those early silent movie cowboys, and during one of the movies, Wyatt Earp was like a consul, or what do you? I just learned this term. I completely forgotten, but like help give
consultant, maybe.
Consultant. Thank you.
Yeah, there's a reason to keep me around.
Yeah, that's right. But apparently the two got very close to one, became good friends. White even gave Tom Mix his pocket watch, and he did weep. He wept at Wyatt's funeral.
I know that Wyatt Earp III actually endorsed Kurt Russell for the part at some point. I don't know if it was before or after he had already been cast.
I do know that I'm looking at the list now, and Wyatt Earp III was one of the cowboys. Apparently, if my research is correct, so the guy at the OK Corral, as soon as the four showed up, you see the one guy drop his gun and like run away, like through a fence or like through a gate. I think that was supposed to be Wyatt Earp III.
It's really weird to think that about the living descendants of some of these people from folklore, American folklore. Like one of the pastors at my former church is a direct descendant from Davy Crockett, also named Davy Crockett.
Apparently, this we have ancestry to prove this. I have a descendant that signed the Declaration of Independence on my mom's side. So my grandma on my mom's side.
Well,
it's her descendant.
I had twice. I think it's twice great grandfathers, or my great grandfather and his brother fought on opposite sides of the Civil War.
Ooh.
Fun fact: I'm descendant from the Confederate line. Apparently, they fucking hated one another. And when the brother who fought for the Union died, their dad joined the army for the Union. So my great-great-grandfather was a real black sheep.
Wow. Talk about hate and Civil War and whatnot.
I think he was the only one that came back from the war, too.
But have you ever seen Hatfields and McCoys? That 3-episode miniseries that was on History about a number of years ago?
I think I've seen like bits and pieces from it. I'm way behind on shit like that.
Well, I strongly recommend watching it because, for one, it's excellent. It's Kevin Costner and Bill Paxton,
Our boy.
Linking it. That's my boy. But no, it was incredible, and apparently that's supposed to be pretty accurate as well in terms of just how much these two families hated each other. The only difference is that apparently the patriarchs, Hatfield and McCoy, the two leads, the patriarchs, they were like 20 years younger than they were portrayed in the show.
Well, I think people kind of tend to forget just how young people were having kids back in the day.
It's true.
So even though it would be more accurate, it doesn't play right.
But I strongly recommend watching that. Oh, what'd you just pull?
I'm going to show you. The whole time I was watching this movie, every time I turned around, I was hearing a line that made me realize just how heavily influenced this was explicitly by Tombstone. I know it's probably mirrored on your side. Deadlands.
No, I see it. What is that?
This is the RPG that got me to actually give Westerns a chance.
Ah.
This badass is the hero killer whenever your player's party gets to badass. And they're just steamrolling everything. You send him in, Jasper Stone. He is the servitor of death. You can't kill him. So this is the wipe the party, start a new game guy.
I see.
I've actually got a plot point campaign over here all about him called Stone in a Hard Place that has the shootout at the OK Corral as like the first campaign storyline. And you actually give the players the character sheets for Wyatt Earp, Virgil Earp, Doc Holliday, and Morgan Earp. You give them all the character sheets and you let them play as these legendary gunslingers to get this feel like, oh, this is what it's going to be like when we're high-level characters. Before Stone shows the fuck up and kills everybody. So, in the Deadlands universe, canonically, Stone wiped everyone out of the OK Corral. And Doc Holliday was a hex slinger. It's Wild West with zombies. In this alternate history, the North and South, the Civil War ended in a stalemate. California is an independent territory. The Mormons managed to make Desiree an independent nation. The Sioux never got absorbed in the Union, so you got the Sioux Nation in the North as an independent country. The Coyote Confederacy in the South, led by an amalgamation of the Southern Native tribes, led, I think, by Cherokee, is an independent group. Love the game, but so much of its lore is informed by one-liners from Tombstone.
Well, you're welcome.
Like the big universal bads in it are the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, but they're referred to as the Reckoners.
Obviously, that's played heavily in this movie.
Yeah, the Reckoning. Like just so many little things, like they would say it, and I'm like, shit.
I mean, the only thing they could have really tied it home was Wyatt's horse was white, because apparently that's what it's supposed to be. Death rides on a pale white horse, which is funny because they got it right in Pale Rider, the Clint Eastwood movie.
But yeah, we're going to end up getting too much movie talk in.
Well,
but yeah, because I'm going to end up bringing up Deadlands at some point.
Oh, sure.
Just because that was what actually got me to give Westerns a shot. Which it was actually not the RPG that got me started. There's a card game, like Magic the Gathering, where it's, building poker mechanics into the game. So you're stacking your own deck of 52 cards. And for like combat in the game, you're making poker hands. But you can stack. You're limited to 4 of the same suit and rank. So you only have like 4, say, aces of hearts in your deck. And you might be playing them, or you might be trying to build hands with them.
Now, this Deadlands, does it focus on all, like, Western lore? So, like, does it include Deadwood and, like, all those big things? Or is this... that's just one of the... It just takes OK Corral and then, like, as the only thing, but then it just expands into its own thing.
I think they stuck the shootout at OK Corral in there just because it is so iconic from real Wild West folklore. Because it's like, the most iconic shootout of the real Wild West.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot of liberties being an alternate history. And the dude that wrote it, his name's Shane Hensley. Cool dude. He actually got Bruce Campbell to write the foreword for Deadlands.
So I'm intrigued.
I can't remember if mine's got it in it or not. I know the old ones all had a foreword written by him. Let's see. It might have been Deadlands Classic. Yeah. All right. Nope. It's in Classic. I've got Reloaded. But it also starts off with the Tombstone epitaph.
But all right, everyone. If you have a Dane for Secret Santa, you know what to get him.
I don't even know if any of this will make it to the episode. Maybe an extended stinger.
There we go. Yeah, I'll just throw a little extended stinger. Just be like, hey, Secret Santa for Dane. Deadlands Classic.
I've got damn near all the PDFs. And I've got most... I've got all of the Savage Worlds Deluxe Edition hardbacks that they released for it.
Mm-hmm.
They redid and rebooted the series when they did the new edition of Savage Worlds, and they changed some shit. They changed the lore so that the Confederate states no longer exist. It's all Union. So they redid that part of the lore. But they were rewriting it when a lot of shit was going on with like the BLM movement and all that, and they decided that it was a bad look.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they explicitly have stated since like the first edition of the game, don't put racism in your campaigns. This is alternate history. We know the reality. That was not the focus of the Civil War, and both sides openly emancipated everyone long before it was called to a truce. So like they were always very explicit. Don't bring that into your game. That's not what this game's about. And you know as well as I do, there were some people who were like, hey, let's bring it into the game. But by and large, I'm sure people just ignored it. But yeah, they decided it was a bad look and kind of rewrote the lore. And I was so invested in what was already there because I've read all of the books. I've played the game quite a bit. I'm so invested in that old lore, I'm probably never going to switch over to the new one. I'm just going to stick with the one I got.
No, why should you? I don't understand where people are just like, it needs to be updated. It's like, no, it doesn't. It's clearly stated from the start. This is alternate history. Just, there's no political agenda behind it. It's just fun.
But yeah.
People are sensitive.
And I know it's nothing except, just anything with the Confederacy. And so many of like the novels that they wrote had characters who were like former Confederate generals who went out west and turned good guy, and they were heroes in the party, shit like that. All of the guys at Pinnacle who released the game, pretty much all of them are born and raised in the South. Like the product manager lives an hour away from me in Hickory.
Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
Is Arliss Lovelace, the Kenneth Branagh from Wild Wild West, is he in this?
In Deadlands?
Even just in Deadlands. Even just a mention of him, just like some crazy former, like, doctor. Who,
there are probably references that went over my head and I never picked up on, but mad scientists and steampunk gadgetry are very much a thing in the Deadlands game.
Well, then there you go. I have a feeling that
instead of having the Sears Roebuck, they have the Smith and Robarbs catalog where you can order your steampunk gadgetry. And like, if you ever roll a critical fail whenever you're using one of those, all of the mad scientist gadgets have like a critical fail thing that will just totally destroy your world. Like they can just wreck shit, but if you got snake eyes, you're fucked.
For 50 easy payments, you too could own the steampunk mechanical spider from Wild Wild West.
Gyrocopters. The whole thing revolves around they find a super fuel called Ghost Rock, which burns longer and hotter than coal. But when you burn it, it sounds like, the reason they call it Ghost Rock, it sounds like tortured souls screaming from hell because of these little air pockets that are caught in it. But then you've got some people who are like, no, this is really like made from the souls of the damned or something. There's no reason that something like this should exist, but it becomes the backbone of like industry. And when you get out of the Wild West into the far-flung future, they make nuclear warheads that are fueled by ghost rock, and the ghost rock fueled apocalypse happens. And it's like, when he wanted to write an RPG, this was the world he had in mind. It was the Wasted West, which is like this Mad Max style after the apocalypse. Because after the bombs go off, the entire planet turns into just what the lore refers to as Deadlands. And the four horsemen show the fuck up. So you are like in this game in a world that is Mad Max style after the literal four horsemen of the apocalypse have just wreaked fucking havoc.
Let me say, if they ever make a video game like this, that probably might be a day one purchase, because it sounds very fascinating.
I love the lore, and just all this shit got me to give Westerns a chance, because right after I got the card game and then I got these books, True Grit came out on Blu-ray, the new one, and we got it from my dad.
Love that movie.
And I watched it with him, and like my favorite quote out of that one was, "You are not LaBeef," and that just kind of became a meme around the household.
No, I love that movie.
But after that, I was like, okay, maybe not all Westerns are John Wayne movies. I'll start giving these a shot.
Well, hey, you eventually liked Raising Arizona. That's very much a Western. Not in the typical sense.
It's a Western the way No Country for Old Men is a Western. Like, the DNA is in there, but it's not explicit. Like, I think Western, set in the 1880s, late 1870s, old Wild West. But yeah, the DNA is definitely in there. I'll give you that. But I always liked Raising Arizona.
What else? So wait, are you thinking that this won't be in the episode?
I'm going to stick all that as a stinger and then actually do the normal cold open intro that we usually do. But yeah, I know that we're going to end up retreading some of that ground. Imagine how pissed somebody's going to be after the ending song plays and then there's a half-hour-long stinger.
Hey, we give the viewers what they want.
Oh.
And yes, I know I keep saying viewers, but that's just a funny bit of it.
Well, some of them listen on YouTube.
There you go.
And
Sadly,
there is technically a little
beautiful logo. Hey, just look at your beautiful logo.
Oh, my half-assed logo.
Hey, I liked it.
You ready to get this cold open started?
Yeah, man.
Because I have not yet begun to defile myself.
I've been drinking my cranberry juice. What is it, your period? Man, I can't drink cranberry juice anymore without hearing that.
What's that from?
But I absolutely love that movie. The Departed. Leonardo DiCaprio, Matt Damon, Jack Nicholson.
I don't think I've seen this movie.
Well, now we know what we're going to be watching in the future. Because I think that is the best Martin Scorsese movie. That's right, I said it. Even more than Casino, Taxi Driver, Goodfellas. Come at me.